know what they're doing when they get in a boat. But at the moment, Nottingham dictating the early running. And this duo are actually bronze medalists at Ghent Regatta in the Nottingham crew, so we shouldn't be at all surprised to see them performing well.
No, they're certainly looking very strong and composed coming down the course. Very, very neat as they come down.
So quite a commanding lead from Nottingham there.
Is that on?
Is it on? And I suspect this Cambridge crew will be gearing up to go back into the squad for the boat race next year. And interesting to see them sculling here. I'm sure they'll be experimenting with what they can do in a double scull.
Yeah, no, it certainly looks like, though, that Nottingham crew have definitely got it in the bag from here. The Cambridge crew is certainly pushing on further up, but it doesn't look like they have they're going to get too much headway on that Nottingham crew, who just seem to be persevering up the river with no chance of sort of relaxing down.
And Nottingham obviously base themselves out of Home Pierpont, the 2K rowing lake in the East Midlands, and I'm sure they will have been doing a lot of 1500 metre pieces. And again, I think I mentioned earlier, we've seen quite a few Nottingham double sculls over the course of today and yesterday.
Yeah, no.
They've got a real pedigree in this boat type especially, I think. And a few years ago, you'd have seen Nottingham in a quad more likely, but now they seem to have downsized into the doubles and it's working for them. But we've now panned back to the next race on the course, which is the next course final of this championship double sculls event between Leander on the Berkshire station and Reading University Boat Club A on the Buckinghamshire station. And I think this is going to be a really, really good matchup. And I know that this Reading crew are particularly feisty, especially from coming back from being down off the start. They did the same thing at Bucks Regatta.
Yeah.
They fight their way to positions. And if Leander are leading, which at the moment it doesn't look like that's the case, I think Reading have got the edge on them up to the start. I wouldn't put it past them to fight back.
No, it certainly looks like that way. And Leander have actually been quite quiet this year in terms of their results. So not too sure what to expect from them, whereas Reading has certainly been producing top results against all the top competing schools and universities, rather, in the country. So it would not be surprising at all for Reading to take this into their own hands and just edge in front of Leander. However, from our screen now, it does look like at the moment Leander are just in front, but Nottingham is certainly creeping up behind every single stroke.
Yeah, and this Leander crew, both of them have come back from a season in the US. They're both US educated. Porteous, a graduate of the University of Washington, where she stroked their varsity coxed forward to win the Pac-12 championships. And Maitland is a graduate of Duke University in North Carolina. So they have a little bit of domestic form, but they're a strong pedigree of crew, especially if they've been training over in the United States of America. They'll have been part of a pretty tough program.
Yeah, the American unis have certainly been doing a good job today, so it's not surprising at all to see that, again, those that have been training in America are storming ahead again.
And I think they've just started to put their foot on the gas a little bit there, and they've opened up to half a length on this Reading University crew. But as I say, I think this will be a really good race, because I know that Reading double scull really have it in the head to be able to pull themselves back onto terms with the crew that's ahead of them. And I suspect they will stay with them and won't let them get another inch more as they go through this middle part of the race.
Yeah, you can certainly see that each stroke, Reading is just pushing on further and further and just really trying not to lose any of Leander on them.
And you can see it in the stroke there of Leander, the face of the Leander Stroke girl's face. It's hard work for them this race, and certainly not a walk in the park. And they've had to work really hard to get that half a length, 3/4 of a length that they now have on the Reading University crew. And this is Reading's top crew, Lucy Ryan and Chloe Knight. Lucy won a bronze at the European University Championships. And both of them raced at Bucks Regatta early in the year and came away with a string of medals. So they're very experienced racing together, and with overlap, I think that they will try and mount the sprint against Leander in the final 500 metres. So we will move to the next race in the bottom left-hand corner of your screen between Cambridge University Women's A and Headington School A. Now, I've been really excited to see this Headington crew race all week. I watched a video of their coach Ryan Domain's training session that they had earlier in the week, just sharpening up for this regatta. Katie Greaves is rowing with one of the current students. Katie Greaves, of course, silver medalist from the Rio Olympics in the women's 8, teaming up with one of their junior internationals. And I think it looked very speedy earlier in the week.
Yeah, so 2 races on the course. At the moment, you can see 2:17 on the bottom left-hand side of your picture, that match-up between Cambridge University and Headington School at the moment. Camilla, Cambridge doing all the early running.
Yeah, and I think they'll want to get a good head start on this Headington crew. As I've mentioned, a silver medalist in the bow seat of your crew from the Olympics. You want to be looking back on them and trying to hang on rather than trying to catch back up, because certainly a very experienced, mature racing crew. And what a race we've got coming into the closing stages of that previous...
That was hard to call, that. Leander
Championship
and
double
Reading.
skull.
Yeah, coming up towards the line. Not sure who took that one in. From the sort of reactions of both crews over the line, it's hard to tell who won. It might have been Reading.
Well,
sure.
I did call it. I must say that I said if Reading were down, Knight and Ryan have it in them to pull it back. And if they've done it, that will be very impressive.
Eerily canny. Well, here we go. Cambridge and Headington working their way past us. This Cambridge crew. Paula Vesselman in the stroke seat, rode in the blue boat this year. And Emma Andrews, a former coupe sculler for Putney High School. So plenty of sculling pedigree in that crew. Always interesting to see these girls switch over to sculling after a long season of rowing in the lead up to the boat race. But you have to think that Katie Greaves in that Headington crew is going to have her sort of head in the ear of the girl in front of her, just making sure that she still believes that this race can be overturned. And
the girl in the stroke seat of the Headington crew, whose name escapes me, which is really awful, she's actually a Swiss junior international, and she is very experienced herself. And
Mattea Röthrick.
Yes, I knew she is a Swiss sculler, and in my opinion, I think they look a bit longer than the Cambridge crew. Cambridge just look a little bit shouldery to me, a little bit tense.
Forcing it along.
But Cambridge, very strong. They're levering it along. Headington, a little bit smaller, a little bit less powerful, but certainly the more technical crew, I would say. But
absolutely.
Close to call. They're still both very good pedigree crews, and there's overlap. And as we just saw in that previous race, overlap means there's still a race.
Anything can happen, absolutely. Just watching that. Keeping our eyes firmly planted on the top right-hand side of our screen, that competition between Cambridge and Headington on the way down the course. So, Camille, I expect you have plenty to say on this one. The Edinburgh University of London Composite on the Berkshire Station and Wallingford Rowing Club on the left-hand side of your screen on the Buckinghamshire Station. You're going to have time to say plenty about it, I think, because the Composite have jumped straight out.
Well, as we'd expect them to. I think these two are the favourites for the event, Charlotte Hodgkins-Byrne and Lucy Glover there in the stroke seat. I can talk plenty about them in a bit, but what I'd really like to see is this race in the top right-hand corner, because here come Headington. And I think it is now a few feet between Cambridge and Headington. Cambridge still leading, but it's Headington now that are starting to ramp up through the ratings
Well, there we go. The sprint is on. We saw Headington row down a number of senior crews last year in the quads category. Can they do the same in the doubles category against a crew that has boat race experience? So no mean feat if they were to do it. Here we go. A little look over from the Bowgirl and the Headington crew. They're ramping the rate up. They've got to go now, coming into the final few 100 metres. I think they might.
And they've
have rowed
absolutely
through.
gone. I think it's now at least half a length maybe to Headington. And wow, what a mature race plan from that Headington crew. And I think that will be the combination of junior international experience and Olympic international experience in that double scull.
Certainly that experience will help these girls as they progress through the competition, but let's not count our chickens before they've hatched, because I think, barring any late disasters, Headington are going to progress. That's a really well-timed race, isn't it?
Beautiful to watch. And as we said through these early stages in that race between Headington and Cambridge, I think Headington just had the room to be able to row their own race. They were that much more relaxed, and you can see that they didn't get flustered at all by being down off the start by almost a length. And that's what really mature crews do, is they just keep their heads in the boat and execute a race plan just like that. Textbook stuff from the Headington double scull, and they've just risen the rate a little bit there just to show off what they can do in the sprinting stages, and I'm sure we'll see that again tomorrow. But with that race over, we'll pan back to this race between the composite of Edinburgh University and the University of London and Wallingford. And I mean, I could probably talk about this double for hours, but I'll try to keep it concise. But these two scullers here will be going for the under-23 selection this year. Lucy Glover in the stroke C, a promising young sculler to say the absolute least. She's a wonderful character. She's just so humble, bless her, and I think that she's going to go really far. She was second at senior final trials this year, only to Vicky Thornley, which at 20 years old...
Wow.
Very impressive.
She
and
was a super junior, wasn't she, at Warrington?
Yeah, and she's won this event. Well, she's won the junior single sculls here at Henley Women's Regatta. She's won the elite single sculls here at Henley Women's Regatta. So to see her here stroking a championship double scull, it's always going to go fast. And she's being backed up by Charlotte Hodgkins-Byrne there in the bow seat, previously of Gloucester Hartbury. And we saw her jump into that under-23 quad last year that secured that emphatic gold medal in the face of adversity when Kyra Edwards was struck with illness. Charlotte Hodgkins-Byrne was the super sub, and they came away as world champions. So if you can jump in and produce that type of performance off the cuff,
Bit of a result, yeah.
I think this double scull is going to go far. And I know that within the setup at the moment, they are toying around with an under-23 quad and double. We could see two boats going to the under-23s in the sculling squad for the women this year, which would be, I think, a really strong base for GB women's sculling, especially feeding through into the seniors. But I believe, and I think that the squad believe, that they can get 2 gold medals, 2 world champion crews out of this women's sculling squad this year, which I'm excited for the racing in Poznan already.
That'll be a phenomenal achievement, I have to say. And just watching that double make their way down the course, the relaxed, composed style with which they are sculling, it would take a brave man or woman to bet against them. But while we watch the beauty that is that Edinburgh University of London composite, just round up some results for you. So the academic aspirational Cox Fours race 2-1-1 was a win for Edinburgh by a length and a half over St Andrews. Race 2-1-2, a win for Exeter by half a length over Newcastle. UL won race 2-1-3 by 4 lengths over Durham, and KSRV Nord, the Dutch crew, won race 2-1-4 by 2.5 lengths. Moving on to the championship doubles, it was Nottingham who triumphed over Cambridge University Women's Boat Club by 4 lengths. In the end, 2-1-6 went to Leander Club by a canvas over Reading University Boat Club, and Headington crossed the line 2 lengths clear of Cambridge University Women's Boat Club in the race preceding this one. But we can just see that Edinburgh UL crew making their way down the course. I mean, they are thoroughly enjoying this experience, I imagine.
Yes, and I really can't see anyone in this event beating them, and I don't want to give them the commentator's curse, but out of the 4 quarterfinals that we've seen in the previous races, that Headington School race, which was lovely and very well executed, but when we see that composite at full tilt and in the final, believe me, they will be,